Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting to you guys from the south side of Chicago, coming to you live from the DCF studio. It is Friday, October the 2nd. Oh my goodness, 2020 has been a blur. Can't even believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of DCF Live. Another week in the books. It is already Friday, guys. Can't believe it. Time is flying. We are in the midst of football season. That means the weeks just evaporate for us. And I can't even believe we're already here at Friday. This week, the eBay auction went live for the eBay project that I was hinting at last week. We announced that earlier this week in a video on, we went through how to do photography that you would do for, eBay photos, product photography, that clean white background look that is sort of, it's hard to do if you don't really know sort of how to set it up initially and then what you're trying to accomplish in Photoshop and Lightroom. And it was something before I met Jason that I always wanted to try to learn to do, and I never could. I would try things like, here, I'm going to buy some white foam core and just try a little white a lamp with a daylight bulb, and I never knew how to get it, and I never knew what it took to set it up in Photoshop and whatnot and all of those types of things. And it's something that we get a lot of questions about still. Hey, how could I get this? I'm trying to set up my website or my Etsy and I want to have clean product photos, and how can I do that? So I'm really glad that we have a tutorial on that now. And it was cool that it happened to line up with us doing this huge eBay collaboration. It was really cool to be one of the 5 customizers selected for that. Let's see. Making sure you guys can hear me and see me. Lately, I don't know, though, it happened last stream too. I'm not able to pull up the stream right away right here on the iPad, so I can't see the chat yet. Let me see if I go on a browser and get that pulled up. If I can find my face and see what you guys are saying here. So yeah, hopefully everybody's doing good. Like I said, October 2nd. Does anybody have an October ritual? Do you have to kick off the month watching Hocus Pocus or something like that? It was on last night on Freeform. Brittany and I saw it. We had Dex watching a little bit. Hocus Pocus, that is one that we grew up with. I think that released in the early 90s. But let's see. Okay, do I have the chat here? I do not have the chat here. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why lately it hasn't been pulling up for me on the iPad. But let's see. History. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. I can see the chat now. I have to watch the Lions lose in October. I cannot believe that the Bears are somehow 3-0. That is absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy that my Bears are somehow 3-0. I would have probably more likely guessed them to say that the Bears would be 0-3 at this point. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We're a little bit late. Jason and I were just shooting a funny thumbnail for next week's video. It was one that we had took a couple hours for us to get the perfect shot for next week's thumbnail. It's a pretty crazy one, but it's cool. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys some of the results from the eBay auction. There were some really cool pairs up. So today will be a little bit shorter. I can't go the 2 hours or anything, but maybe we'll take a look at some Instagrams. Another thing that I really want to do here, I have to figure it out. I sort of brought this up maybe a month or so ago, but I think it would be cool to bring people in on potentially like a FaceTime, a Skype, a Zoom, something like that, and do some sort of consulting, help you guys sort of grow your businesses. How can I, obviously I try to answer a lot of questions here in the chat, but how can I talk a little bit more directly with you about your business? So maybe I could bring someone on here. You take up half the screen, I take up half the screen, and we just talk about ways that we can grow your business. And I know right away the first thought is, just have them call you on FaceTime or something like that. But you know, I of course want it to look and sound good. So if I just bring somebody in on FaceTime right now, and well, how do I get the audio to stream correctly, and all of these little minor things? Well, here I am on a DSLR camera, and I have an external mic attached. If we just have you running through your webcam or through iPhone with just the iPhone audio, well, it's gonna sound really weird. And there's a saying on YouTube that people are more, especially something like this DCF lives, these are somewhat almost like a podcast form, to where you could sort of listen to me ramble in the background. It's not so much always about what I'm showing here. I'm not necessarily giving tutorials visually, but so we need the audio to be good is basically my main concern for figuring that out. But yeah, let's take a look at some of these pairs that came up in the eBay auction. There was some cool stuff from some of the other customizers. So there was 5 people, and it was myself, Kickstradamus, Serato, Mosh, and Sela V. So very cool. Let's slide on over here. So the initial concept was that eBay reached out to us, and we were going to be given a specific year out of the past 25 years. So back starting in 95, and each customizer was going to be given a shoe, and then you were going to be given a year. So let's say, for example, they gave me an Air Force, and they said 2003. And so you could do something, maybe a movie came out in 2003, maybe there was a really popular song, and the music video was very iconic. Maybe there was something that happened just in pop culture that year. And everybody submitted their mock-ups. I had some cool stuff based around movies and different things. And eBay had a lot of pushback, I think, from, they didn't say it was specifically from me, but I think as the project as a whole, that we were getting a little bit too close to the copyright sort of area. So for example, I actually had 2003, and on a pair of Air Forces, I was going to do a Freddy vs. Jason theme. Thought that would be really cool, because obviously the Freddy Dunks are one of the most iconic SBs of all time. That was the year that the Freddy vs. Jason movie came out, and I thought it would have just translated perfectly onto a shoe. Especially, that's a theme that I would really love to do. So I think a lot of people had similar stuff to that, and eBay got a little bit worried about potential copyright issues. So they switched the themes to be a little bit more general to, okay, you know, here this 5-year period, it was very popular for camo culture. So that's why you saw some camo Yeezys. And what else was there? There was rave culture and 90s streetwear. So that's what some of the themes were based around. And so if we take a look at some of the other people's pairs, let's take a look at them. So we have these Reebok questions that were inspired by 95 to 2000s grunge era. So we have a plaid pattern, and yeah, so this first pair was from Kickstradamus. And all of these are up for bid right now, and these Air Forces were inspired by 2001 to 2005 raves. Yeah, I just want to take a quick glance at all of these. I think with some of these pairs, you will see that it was an extremely short deadline. And yeah, I mean, if you zoom in here, you guys will see some of the stuff, you know what I mean, from being on a short deadline. And I was talking with Mosh a lot throughout this project, and yeah, it was a super short turnaround, and it's right in the middle of football season, and we were super busy, but I'm glad we got through it. I'm definitely pleased with, these are the 5 pairs that I did. I'm sure you guys saw a lot of the stuff on Instagram. So my first pair was these Reebok questions with the Kuji print. Then I did these Rave Air Forces, these Harajuku New Balances, the Desert Camo Yeezys, and these Sunset Vans. And Serato had some really cool pairs. It looked like he did... he's been dabbling a little bit more into like the iron-on or heat press stuff. I'm not even sure what the exact method is, but I know he's been putting out some videos on that, these transfers, whatever they may be, iron-on or heat transfer, yada, 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 that stuff. But obviously the Vans are done sort of in the very signature Serato style, so those are really dope. And Sela V, she went way outside of the box with some of her pairs, and I love how they all turned out, that she just added all of these little external gadgets and little knickknacks, and really cool, really cool. And then Mosh's pairs, of course, came out awesome. But yeah, it was a tough project. Let me see if I can get the link added here in the chat if you guys are interested in seeing that. Let's see here. See if I can get that posted. So you guys can check out this link. It is going to be live till next Wednesday, I believe. There's the link there in the chat. Send a link to the ebook. Yeah, so that's that. That was it was, like I said, it was just a crazy project with a super short turnaround. I mean, I think everybody got delayed a bit because we had to redo the mock-ups, and then when you work with like a corporation like eBay, you're gonna have to send mock-ups and get approval and all this type of stuff. So yep, right in the middle of football season. That was crazy. Let's see here. Post the link here on Instagram to join us here on this episode of DCF Live on this Friday. How is everybody doing? Let's see. Anthony, my man, says, you had the cleanest and most wearable customs for the eBay auctions, no doubt. Mosh and Serrato's work is always dope, too. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that, man. Keep doing your thing here as we wind down on the baseball season. I had a heartbreak for my socks yesterday, but it was great to be back in the postseason for the first time in 12 years, but our manager absolutely lost his mind yesterday. It would have been good to actually have like a solid, trustworthy third starter, which we didn't really have this season. We had, and so we tried doing a bullpen game yesterday, and it was one of the weirdest baseball games that I've ever seen. But nonetheless, a step in the right direction for my Sox, and we will be back better and hungrier next year. So yeah, what else? What else was there that I wanted to say? Next week we will have the announcement on the contest. There will be the final contest of the year. There will be, I think, 5 weeks to submit your pair for the contest. We always try to have at least a month or so worth of time because I know how it is. It's tough as a customizer that there's always deadlines and you always have something else to do. So we want to always try to give at least a month, but this contest is going to have some way out there themes. I'm really excited to see it. Clarissa here says, question for the contest: how many submissions can we make? You can make as many as you want. If anybody, so Jason sent out a newsletter today. If you're not already subscribed to the newsletter, we did announce the contest here. I don't want to announce it here on this video because next week's video is going to officially announce the contest. So let's try to keep it no spoilers, ideally in the chat for the contest. If you know, you know. But otherwise, make sure you're subscribed to that newsletter. And yeah. But let's see. It's going to be a good one. It is going to be a good one. So yeah, the deadline is going to be Friday, November 13th. Which as of now is, as of today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks from today. Yeah, so it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. I think this might be one of the best contests yet. I've had a ton of people asking if there was going to be like a holiday review. A Halloween review for reviewing your customs or anything like that, and there's not going to be, just because we didn't want to have another Halloween horror contest just because we had one last year and there's so many other themes we want to do. But I did think it would be really cool maybe here on the stream as we get a little bit closer to Halloween, because Halloween, the Friday when we like to do these episodes of DCF Live, is October 30th. So ideally, I like to try to do these every Friday. Sometimes I'm not able to, but let's assume that Friday, October 30th, I'm down to check out a lot of people's Halloween or horror themes. So maybe that day, maybe we're just sort of, the stream is just looking at other people's horror themes that they did throughout the month of October, whether it be something that you create just to sort of have reviewed, or maybe you have you know, hopefully some orders of people wanting something for spooky season. I think that'd be really cool to just sort of check those out. So maybe we'll have you, you know, maybe email those to us or submit, email those to us, or maybe a hashtag, something like that. And I think that'd be really cool for Friday, October 30th. But Tyson Smith here says, does Angelus do a Black Friday or holiday sale? Yeah, Angelus is really good about doing sales for nearly every holiday. Even those Monday holidays like Labor Day and whatnot, they almost always are going to give you a good 15% off sale. We always have a 10% discount code, which we have linked in the description. It is, they did just change it though. So instead of it being DeJesus 101, it is DeJesus 1010. So they change it up every so often, really just so that those, what are they called? Like Honey's Wiki Buy, those little coupon scanning extensions on your browser, just so they never really pick them up and are sort of able to keep them around. So yeah. Let's see here. JLC2 Wavy says, is it good to re-dye black suede? Yeah, you know, if you have a pair of, let's just say, I can't even think of a pair of Jordans off the top of my head that would have black suede. I can maybe think of more black nubuck ones. But yeah, if you had to re-dye them, you absolutely could do that. Let's see here. Jason Melendez says, man, how do I search for the sneakers on eBay? You know, it's hard to, for some reason, just search them up by name. I even tried that. Like, even if you search DeJesus Custom on eBay or something like that, those aren't pairs that are popping up. But, yeah, I just posted a link. If you scroll back up, you can search the auction and all the other pairs that were listed. But what's really cool, because I did search those up, I think it'd be cool to show you guys, is because I typed in DeJesus Custom on eBay the other day to try to find those pairs, and I'm like, this is weird that I can't find them. Here is a pair of Jordan 7s that I painted many years back that are listed on eBay, which is kind of funny to see. So we switch on over here, and here's a pair of Paranorman 7s that I did, and this was the first time that I learned how to airbrush flames, and this was with the Air Jordan 7 Paranorman name. Yeah, so if you take a look at the date there, October 30th, 2015. So this is already 5 years ago, and it feels like yesterday. Here's a couple pics of him wearing them. So this was on a pair of the Bordeaux 7s, because I think he shows the bottoms here. Does he? Does he show the bottoms? Yeah. Yeah, so those are the Bordeaux 7s, and we did the Paranorman theme. And yeah, those are really cool. Definitely like how the flames turned out there. Okay. Carter says, can you do a video on Angelus paint pens? I don't really use them or like them, to be honest. You can, they're sort of cool in that you can make your own colors or pick your own colors. You just take the paint and fill them up with the pens. But the reason I don't like them is because I found that it wasn't very, it wasn't consistent for me as far as line weights and whatnot. I wasn't able to get a consistent flow of the paint, and that very well could have been on me not using the right ratio of paint to too thin or something like that. It absolutely could have been my fault, but that just didn't work well for me. So, yeah, that's where, you know, you'll always see me use things like a really tiny detail brush or a toothpick. You know what I mean? Let's see. Joey Sullivan here says, how do you start a YouTube channel? I think that if you're just looking to start a YouTube channel, I think the most important thing is sort of try to settle on you don't have to settle on a niche and stick to one thing, because I think it's a great idea to experiment with other things, but just pick something that you believe you can be consistent with, and just start, and know that your first videos aren't going to be great and people aren't going to watch, and that's okay. It's just more important that you're always creating even when people aren't watching, even when people aren't buying and things like that. You just sort of need to keep pushing along, especially in those early days, because it's really about just getting that snowball really going, and then you can sort of gain momentum. But you know, I'm just going to start, and you can do a lot of great things with just your phone nowadays. So very cool. Very cool stuff, and good luck, Joey. I would look forward to. I love seeing more and more creators pop up on YouTube. Ia here says, how do you prepare for sneaker pop-up events as a customizer? This is a really cool question. I think it's really important to sort of pre-plan out how you want your table to look. So how are you sort of going to get a little bit of height, elevation? So are you going to have whether it be a black cloth draped across the table, and maybe you have some boxes stacked up underneath the black cloth, and then you're able to sort of raise them in different rows, sort of like a steps. I think that's real cool. Sometimes you want to build some wooden displays. Sometimes you want to get some acrylic displays or something like that. I would just sort of search up Google Images on art displays for art events and things like that, and just get creative. How are you going to sort of find a way to make your table stand out in the crowd is a great way that I would think about it. But yeah, that's really cool. Sneaker events are a lot of fun and something that I definitely did a ton of when starting out. Jeffrey asked again about the eBay auction. For some reason, you might need to go directly through this link. Let me add it here again, Jeffrey. Yeah, for some reason, when I searched it up, I was not able to find them directly, so I'll just go ahead and add the link here again. Nope, that's for the YouTube video. Ignore that link, sorry. I'm going to remove that one. Let me pull it up here. Copy. La-da-da-da. Okay, that link should work. Cool. How would you paint a t-shirt? Yeah, so if you're interested in painting on a t-shirt, you can do it. You just need to mix 2-Soft into your paint, and then you need to wash it cold, and you need to hang dry it. You don't want to throw it in the dryer. Let's see. John Becker here says, post progress pics on Instagram, ? That's a good question. I think certainly progress pics, the first thing that comes to mind with progress pics would be that they're sort of at your they're at your workspace, and so things might be a little messy, and so that's sort of my reservation to just naturally saying, yeah, I think that sort of works okay for certainly Instagram stories. On the feed, which I'd like to consider a bit more of a portfolio, maybe if you, sort of captured them correctly, if you went out of your way to sort of set up the scene potentially. But, if you're in dire need of content, then I can see yes. But I'm going to say ideally, probably not, unless that's sort of your thing, that you always post a progress of every single shoe, and you want to sort of develop, that theme on your page, that maybe people can sort of see the progress from start to finish over time of all the different shoes. That could be kind of cool. But just throwing those in, maybe when you go out of your way a little bit more to really have some nice, clean, finished photos, I think I would have some reservations of saying it would be a good idea to post progress photos, unless you sort of went out of your way to really set them up. Yeah. That's what I would say. Let's see here. Preston Cherry says, what should I do when it comes to customs to stand out? What should I do when it comes to customs to stand out? Well, I think that it is a competitive market, so you sort of have to develop your own style. You need to find out what's going to make you sort of different from everybody else. Just sort of ask yourself that first. And that's of course what you're asking. How do I stand out? But what am I going to do differently? Is it going to be that I'm going to do videos a little bit differently? I'm going to go really hard at TikTok style videos or something like that? Or I'm going to go really hard at my animations? I'm going to go really hard at my final photos and have them just really clean and the photography is going to be epic? What am I going to do that's different? Or is it going to be through the artwork? The style is going to be really different. Because there's a lot of people who will paint an LV Air Force One right now and things like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you just need to find a way to stand out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Soul of Filth Customs here says, if you can't be first, be different. That's how to stand out, but most importantly, be yourself. That's a great point. That's a great point. Absolutely. Cool. We got a super chat here from Johnny's Life. Thank you so much, Johnny. Really appreciate that. It says, can you let me know what should I work on more on the gram? Also got a new setup if you want to see. It's the newest vid on the gram. Johnny, if you can, just follow up here with your Instagram and we will take a look at that. Yep. I think I know it, but let me just make sure I go to the correct Instagram. Shivank here says, hey man, big fan. Can you recommend any other paint for customizing shoes other than Angelus? The other one that I would recommend if you needed another paint would be Jacquard paint, which does come airbrush ready. I'm not sure if it's potentially a your location on why you can't get Angelus paint, or if it's a budgetary restraints on, you don't necessarily want to spend the money on Angelus paint, which it could very well be that. Jacquard I don't think is much cheaper, so that won't necessarily solve it, but maybe you can get Jacquard in your location. But Angelus is starting to get more distributors worldwide, which is kind of nice. But if you're just looking to save money, it's hard to say that there's a better one, because I don't want you to just get cheap acrylic paints. They're gonna those aren't gonna hold up on shoes, and they're gonna just create sort of bad habits of working with those paints. Okay, Johnny here says JBL Custom. Yes, let's check this out, and we will pull this up here. La da da da. JBL _ custom. JBL custom _ again? Okay. All right. Johnny, let me make sure this is the right one. You said you got a new setup and it's the newest vid, so let's check this out. Been customizing shoes for 6 months and just got a new setup. Okay, yeah, this has got to be your page. Let me know what you guys think. I don't have any sound here. But okay, okay. Dope desk. Okay, I see the airbrush booth. Oh, I see the vinyl cutter. Yeah, man, you're ready. That's dope. Very cool. Very cool. Good stuff, Johnny. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff. Got the business cards here. Nice. Got the Vans here. Some Air Forces. The Burberry custom Air Forces. This is your first pair. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cool stuff. Yeah, man. So, what I would say is, what I want you to focus on is the photography. You know what I mean? That's what you're always first and foremost going to hear me say, and I truly think it's the most important thing, of course, as always. And it looks like you have 11 posts here, and half of them are sort of just on your work desk and whatnot. And when you're really trying to sell a premium product for a luxury product, which this is, you know what I mean? This isn't for everybody. Most people you'll hear say that they don't even want to spend as much money on shoes that they cost at the mall. Now you have to pay an artist to paint on them too. So you're trying to sell a premium luxury product, in my opinion. So you want to have a premium luxury photo. You're always going to hear me say that. I'm never going to change my stance on that. And yeah, so I think just putting more time into your photography, like I don't necessarily think this is bad of having them in the box or something like that, but obviously this photo is extremely blurry. And you can do pretty good stuff with just an iPhone nowadays. You don't even need to always get a DSLR and a crazy lens or anything like that. But it certainly it helps as you can get to those things over time. So I would absolutely consider just spending more time on the photography because the work looks cool. You know what I mean? The work looks cool. Now it's just about you got to make it look a little bit more premium. And I like that you're testing out the videos. I like that video of your setup and stuff. Yeah. So just premium photography. That should be the concept, the goal, and yeah. I mean, like let's take a look here. When you go to our page and we have these sunset vans, you go out of your way to have a photo shoot sort of at the beach, and this is just going to give the shoes a more premium feel. They're not just taken with on my messy work desk with the paints in the background and things like that. And we have a pair of camo Yeezys, and to sort of match the vibe, the fall and the theme, let's go and purchase some leaves. So we went and purchased artificial leaves from Michael's to shoot this. And this one right here, this was a all white background where we sort of did similar to our floating shoe tutorial. And this is just a really colorful shoe. Let's have a cool colorful background and things like that. So just really, 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 really attempting to always give things a premium feel and vibe is just far and away the most important thing they'll ever hear me mention. So yeah, but good stuff, Johnny. Keep up the good work, man. Sahil here says, when using stencils, do you recommend painting with an airbrush? I do. Yep, definitely do. I definitely do recommend the airbrush for stencils. Tyson Smith here says, what kind of vinyl do you use? Because mine won't stick to painted surfaces. I use Oracal 811 for leather mainly, and a lot of other shoes, synthetics and things like that. Oracal 11 is a great go-to sort of everyday vinyl, but if you need something even stronger, but this is not recommended unless you really trust yourself with how you prep, is going to be FDC 3700 glitter vinyl, and it's incredibly strong. And if you want to hear me rant and rave about the vinyls for 30 minutes, if you go to the description of this video, you go under recommended videos, there's a video called How to Make a Multi-Layer Stencil, and you'll just hear me ramble for 30 minutes about vinyl. And yeah, that is the vinyls that I recommend. Letter of the Alphabet here says, can you use matte finish in place of duller? It's about $30 where I live. You can, but Angelus matte finish isn't very matte, so I recommend picking up Liquid Kicks matte finisher. They're starting to be more available. They're starting to get distributors sort of in different countries and stuff too, which is really cool, and I'm very excited for them. So yeah. Gunner says, love the work and the channel. What brush would you use for a Jordan 1 Wings logo, or would you use a toothpick? I would use a toothpick, but you could absolutely use a good detail brush. Some of the ones I use are from a company on Amazon called Zem, Z-E-M. They have a great, pack of detail brushes that you can pick up for pretty cheap on Amazon. So yeah, check them out. Michael Wynn says, do you think that Crocs need to have adhesion promoter before painting them, or would regular prep do? Regular prep for me always involves adhesion promoter. I use adhesion promoter on every single thing I paint. Crocs, it's really tough to say if I've never painted a pair of Crocs. I don't think I would either because they're sort of rubbery, and to me, paint and rubber don't like each other. So there's a lot of people that do paint Crocs. I can't say for sure if they really hold up long term, what their durability is. But yeah, if you are going to do them, I absolutely would use adhesion promoter. Patrick Willis here says, what steps do I need to take to transition from commissions to drops? Well, first and foremost, you just need to prove there's a demand if you're trying to do drops or something like that, you know what I mean? Or seasonal releases, or here, I'm going to do this drop and there's going to be 10 pairs. You need to sort of, I guess, make the initial concept pair and put those out into the world and prove that there's a demand for you to say, here, I'm going to be releasing these on a 10 or 50 pair run next Friday, or whatever the case may be. So really just proving that there's a, what steps do I need to take? The steps would just be growing your audience and proving that there's a demand for you to have releases, things like that. But yeah, that's cool. That's tough. That's tough, getting to that point. But it's really cool when you get there to be able to have drops and say, okay, I'm going to make 10 pairs of these, and they're all going to sell out really quick. That is really cool. Miguel Rodriguez says, do you do customs full-time, or do you have a side hustle? I do customs full-time 3 times over. I wish I had time for another side hustle. I guess in a way, customs sort of started out as a side hustle for me because I was in school when I started them. But yeah, I guess in a way they started out as a side hustle, which is funny. But yeah, definitely full time. No other time for, it's hard to even find time for a hobby or anything like that, especially being a new father. I'm still kind of a new father. Dexter, I have a son who's August, what month are we in? October. So he's coming up on just over a year and a half. He's coming up on what, October? Brain is a little fried right now. He's coming up on 20 months. Boy, it's not far away from turning 2, which is absolutely crazy. And yeah, wife. So it would be very hard for me to find any other time for another side hustle on top of this. Yeah. Clarissa here says, have you ever had a customer that was unpleasant to work with? If so, what did you do? Yeah, I think no matter what, you're sort of going to run into just certain people might be a little bit harder to deal with. What did you do? The best thing that you could do is just try your hardest to, keep them happy. Sort of, if possible, try to remove emotion from it and preconceived notions that, oh boy, this person's hard to deal with, and oh, I'm already in a bad mood anytime I talk to them. Try to remove yourself from that, step away from the situation a bit. Sometimes you can come back to things with a new mindset and say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna do everything possible to try to make you a happy customer. You know what I mean? So yeah, but no matter what, in any business, any field, you'll always run into people that are a little bit harder to work with, for sure. Yep. John Becker here says, how do you personally keep your passion for creating going? I think one thing that we talked about in a recent video that is definitely a little bit understated is to take the time to create something for yourself. And there's just a lot of great benefits for this, that you got a cool new pair of shoes, you get to show these off, you get to create content around them, you get to potentially test out a new artistic theme. I think that it would just be, it's something that I definitely don't do enough of, but it's a really good idea to take time to create for yourself. That's sort of why, if you got into this for the right reasons, it's because you have a passion to sort of create, a passion for art, a passion to you enjoy shoes and you want to test new themes on shoes or something like that. So getting back to that and getting out of the rut of the hamster wheel of just creating for everybody else, I think that's a really good idea. Let's see here. Axel Ruiz says, would you recommend airbrushing or paintbrushing finisher on canvas Chuck Taylors? I would recommend airbrushing it. Yep, I would. Yep. Or on Chuck Taylors, I would also recommend using like a Krylon matte spray, which is kind of like in a spray paint can. Let's see here. Daquan here says, when posting images of your custom shoes on social media, should you put your logo on the images? I've noticed some artists do and some artists don't. I believe that I might be in a little bit of a minority here, But because at least I'm consistent with what I say, guys, that you'll always hear me talk about the premium vibe you're trying to go for. This premium feel, not only through the artwork but through the photography. But just imagine, for example, let me just do this here. Give me one sec to sort of illustrate what I'm saying. Okay. Yep, give me a second here. Let's cue the Jeopardy noise in the background. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, give me a sec here. I'm almost done. I almost got it, guys. Just gonna show you something. Hopefully this will just sort of illustrate my point. Now this is satire, guys. You're going to need to insert a little bit of nuance and understand the point I'm trying to get across here. But for example's sake, what if you saw this? Okay. All right, so putting your logo on, photo, shoes, this, that. What if he decided to do this? What if when Leonardo da Vinci, when he painted the Mona Lisa, decided to add his logo onto the upper right-hand corner of the painting? What if he put his little customizer named Leo's Custom or something like that right on the painting? Because he doesn't, this is a masterpiece. He doesn't want anybody to steal it, right? You know what I mean? So he has to watermark it or brand it or something, right? This would be a good move. In what people's sort of argument is to include their name on stuff, but this is terrible. This is, even if this was a good logo, even if this was a good watermark, whatever the case is, this is obviously satire of me just doing this with the little markup app on the iPhone, but this is terrible. This is a masterpiece, and I want you to treat your photography and your artwork and your custom shoes like a masterpiece. Do not throw a logo on there or a watermark or whatever the case is. Don't throw any of that terrible stuff on there. I tried to not necessarily always speak in terms of definitives and whatnot, but there's basically never a time where I think it's the right move to brand yourself like this by putting your name. I get you might be trying to watermark or something like that, but it's just, oh man, it's crazy. It takes away from it so much. It takes away from the premium feel when you do stuff like this. And believe me, I'm very guilty of it because if you scrolled way back on my Instagram, the first year or two, I was throwing my website on the photos and my logo and things like that. And oh man, boy do I regret it. Boy do I regret some of those photos having a terrible watermark on there. So let me see. Did we lose connectivity here? I'm a little froze. Are we still there? Let me see. Check the phone. Make sure we're still good. I think we're good. Okay. Yep. Yeah. All right. We're good. We're good. Froze up on the iPad for a sec. But yeah, I believe that we are good. Let's see here. Now I got the Jeopardy song stuck in my head. Costa here says, Dylan, what's a new project or style you'd like to try after you're done with the portraits? I think one thing that I would like to do for the future would be learn reconstruction and deconstruction. I'd like to take like the shoe surgeon's course and just learn that and sort of how I could mix that in every so often, doing something really cool with reconning on some shoes. I think that'd be awesome. Yep. that is something that I'd like to do in the future. Tyson Smith here says, do you think it's fine to practice on fake $10 shoes just to practice style and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. You know, you could always practice on other things too, like canvases and whatnot. You know what I mean? If you're just trying to test out styles and whatnot. I know sometimes you want to take it onto shoes to test color blocking and all of this type of stuff. So I totally get it. And yeah, I think it's okay. I just think something to consider with those sometimes is that, you know, because the material is so different, they're going to prep and paint a little bit differently. So there's that aspect to it too, that if you, how a fake shoe made out of really cheap materials preps versus a real shoe is going to be vastly different. So that's just something to consider, but just for practice sake, I think it's totally fine. Mouse Dust here says, hey, I'm wondering how you get your first client. I am probably going to do a pair for my friend, so he would be a walking billboard, but I still don't know if that will attract a client. Well, what I recommend you do, Mouse Dust, I lay this out in a video. Again, head to the description. I think it's the second video there under recommended videos, and it's called like 4 easy steps to begin your customizing journey. But you have the right idea, but what I want you to do now is repeat that same thing of wanting to make a pair for your friend and do that for 10 friends and family members and create 5 pieces of content around every single one of those pairs. And now you have, because you did 10 pairs for friends and family, 5 pieces of content each one. Now you have 50 pieces of content for your Instagram. You're going to be able to get orders if you have 50 pieces of content on your Instagram and you have 10 people walking around wearing your shoes. You absolutely will. Sahil says, if I want to get an airbrush, is there anything else I need to get with it? You do need a compressor for your airbrush. Yep. The name has some, I think, Greek symbols, so I can't read it, but then it says FM. What if you buy new shoes to customize, but you fail? What would you do with those shoes? Well, thankfully, since it's paint, you could essentially acetone it off and start over. Or if they're just sort of practice or display shoes, you could always repaint them, base coat them white or light gray or black or whatever and do new designs on top. But it really just depends what you mean by what if I buy new shoes and fail? Because since it's paint, you, in a way, almost always could at least sort of start over. So yeah, Tara Kelly here says, I'm doing a design that's a lot of line work with a white background. Do you recommend sanding them and repainting them white or skipping the sanding altogether? I never want to repaint white. So in that situation, let me read that again. I'm doing a design that's a lot of line work with a white background. Do you recommend sanding them and repainting them white or skipping the sanding altogether? In that case, there's a couple things I might do. Depending on the exact design. If I knew the exact design you were doing, then I could maybe make a little bit of a better guide to follow. But I'm going to say I might skip the sanding because I don't want all of those gray patches to appear. But another thing that I might do, I would never ever paint the color white again. What I might do in certain situations is I might consider, rather than repainting white, still sanding them full prep, but rather than painting white, I might paint a color like mist in the background or something like that. Something really close to white, but something that'll cover up those patches and whatnot. So yeah. Let's see here. Silmyra, hopefully I said that right, says, hey, if I'm doing some 11s and the icy bottoms are red, could I use soul dye to turn them purple, or only black would be dark enough? Maybe like a really, really dark purple, but I'm guessing you would probably have to go black. If you were painting bread 11s, maybe you could get them purple, but I think it would be a really dark purple. Yeah. Sahil follows up here with, do I need an airbrush booth if I get an airbrush? If I don't get one, is there anything else I could use? You'd be okay without an airbrush booth. You really only need the airbrush booth if you're going to start, sort of airbrushing daily, which is something you could build up to. You could always airbrush outside, in a garage, an open space, something like that. Wear a mask, wear a respirator. You could build your own sort of airbrush booth out of a huge cardboard box or something like that. There's a couple ways around it if you don't want to buy one right away. Let's see here. Angel Padilla says, how do you sand down shoes without fraying the stitching? How do you sand down shoes without fraying the stitching? I think that if you're really prepping them, if you're really going for it, if you're saying, I need to prep these thoroughly, you're going to sand over the stitching, and that's okay, in my opinion, and then you just clean up the fraying by either running a lighter along it or taking a nose hair trimmer and cleaning it up. But, you know, this is a big concern for people running over the stitching with the sandpaper and whatnot, and because they don't want that frayed stitching look. But if you avoid it, the stitching is in that area is one of the first areas where any little nick, you're not necessarily worried about cracking there. You're more so worried about peeling and little nicks and knacks. Will you know, you'll have missing paint if you don't prep those areas. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. Let's see. Yeah, we had some funny TikToks. I just posted the first one on Instagram, but we had some good TikTok style videos for the eBay project. I got to show you guys these because these came out pretty cool, pretty smooth. So take a look at this. You won't be able to hear it, unfortunately, but seeing it is still funny. Let's see. Viewing your Instagram. Okay, we're here on the TikTok. Check out this transition. This one came out smooth. So this is like me on the phone with the client saying, "Oh my goodness, you need these in an hour?" And I have the mock-up on the screen, and here we go. Check this one out. Boom! Ooh, got him good. Got him good. That was smooth. That was smooth. That one came out good. That was a fun one. These are, what's funny about these is these are sort of, these videos were inspired by a creator, Zach King. And this is sort of how Jason and I really started dabbling into video content before we even got on YouTube. This is something, these style of videos is something we played around with on Instagram. Probably, yeah, around 3 years ago now. And that's what sort of led us into, hey, we should create, you know, we want to do more with video content, and we should create some YouTube videos. So it's really funny to now circle back to doing stuff like this. But let's see. Don B here says, what do you substitute for acetone if you are using vegan leather? I think that you would still be fine using acetone on them if you're, I guess, potentially worried about damaging the leather, although I don't think you would. Angel's Prepare and Deglazer is a little bit less strong than acetone, and then Nail Polish Remover is even less strong than that if you're worried about damaging the leather. But let's see here. Well, how are we doing on time? Okay, we got about another 20 minutes or so. Got to go a little bit shorter today. Dwayne Lee here says, can you critique my Instagram, please? Yeah, let's check out my man, Dwayne. Great supporter of the page here. Appreciate you, Dwayne. Just talked with Dwayne earlier about coming to the course in the future. The next one, DCF Experience Part 2, early 2021. Ideally, maybe January or February. But we want to have 3 to 4 next year. So let's see. Oh no, iRock Customs. I typed in your name. Whoops. iRock Customs here. Cool. Let me see here. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the bio. I love that you have your own hashtag. This is something that I see you use all the time. Love it. phenomenal. Logo, good stuff. I rock because you rock. Dope shoes, show your style. I rock customs, bare your soul. Sneaker customizer, $150 project pricing. Your email, your Facebook, boom. Bio, awesome, phenomenal bio. Let's take a look at some of the stuff here. Get a quick feel for everything. Yeah, I love the you really kill it in terms of variation. That there's video, there's photos, there's variation, which is awesome. Let's take a look at some of the recent stuff here. So this photo, I remember seeing these, was kick ass. The lighting and everything, awesome. But to me, I gotta stay true to how I view it, and you just take away from your awesome photo because this is a great photo. The lighting in here is awesome with the black that just tails off in the background. It's awesome, but then to just have it it just looks like a cheap flyer in my opinion to do the photo like this because the photo itself you sent I saw it. I can't remember if you sent it to me or whatnot, but the photo was awesome. And then to throw the branding on here like this, it just cheapens it in my opinion because it's your work is clean, the work is awesome. And I like the concept of you wanting to brand, but I more so like you trying to brand through the things like your keychain and just getting your work out there to more people. Brand through that way. It doesn't have to be through that type of stuff. That's my opinion. I know some other people will be fans of watermarks and they'll think that there's certainly the thought that this well, if somebody stumbles across this, how do they find you? You know what I mean? Because people always say, "Hey, I've seen that photo circulating around the internet, and I never knew who it was from," or something like that. But I just think it's just so much better without it because the photo's dope. Yeah. Yep. This is really cool. I like that there's a video of the slideshow showing off a lot of the different photos that you took and stuff. Those are cool. Yeah, you got the lace locks, you got the hang tags. It's too much in my opinion to have lace locks, hang tags, and then to need logo, to have your name in the upper corner, your logo in the other corner, your Facebook and Instagram in the bottom. To me, it's too much. It's distracting. When I look at this, the first thing I see is yellow and blue flyer graphics, and I'm not even looking at the shoes and the artwork, and that is not what we want. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just think it's a little distracting. I do, I do. But yeah, I mean, look at these Air Forces. Like that is badass, man. Like the work here is so dope, really cool. And I like even like a photo like this. Look at you're thinking right. You're trying to get creative with having your logo shot through the strap hole. You know what I mean? Like that is I really enjoy the thinking here of trying to do that. Look, when I look through there, now I see the little hang tag with your logo. This might be my favorite pair from you. Maybe I really love these. Um, Maybe one of them. But yeah, these Jordan 1 lows. This is really clean. Like I think your improvement that I've seen happen over time is phenomenal. I think you've gotten so much better. Oh yeah, infinitely times better, which is awesome because this isn't even that long ago. Yeah, look at this. Not even that long ago. So super cool to see the improvement. Love to see it. I know you started to take it a whole lot more serious, and so my recommendations would be like I love me a good on foot shot. This is dope. That's dope. Here we got the IGTV 11 minutes, a little bit of the behind the scenes process. Keep doing that. That's phenomenal. Photography is it's trending, starting to trend in the right direction. Is what I would say. But yeah, like your because your logo is cool. Look, I'm a fan of your logo, but it's really colorful. It's really loud. Your logo is almost a piece of art in and of itself. So when I take a look at this photo right here, I'm tempted to look at the logo just as much as I am to look at the shoes, and that's not necessarily what I want. You know what I mean? I want to let the art speak for itself. So, so in terms of growing your Instagram more, you're on the right path, absolutely, of consistency. Yeah, this is 3 days ago. Yeah, so I mean, you're posting. This is September 24th. So I mean, you're posting multiple times a week. That's awesome. I would say, yeah. Now I would say let's try to maybe get some pairs out to influencers. That's a good way to grow. Another option is to potentially pay some Instagram pages that have large followings for some they'll post your work for a fee, whether it be, here we'll post your stuff and we have 100,000 followers and it costs $50 or something like that. That's an option. Or you could just, I mean, it looks like you're staying busy, which is awesome. You know what I mean? I know everybody, because believe me, I'm guilty of it, wants to just shoot right up, and it's all about that slow grind. It's all about just building momentum, staying consistent. If you can stay consistent and constantly have orders, I mean, that is absolutely a huge blessing, and you're doing something right. That people constantly want work from you, and I totally understand to want to see just everything booming. You know what I mean? I want to see my followers booming and my growth booming and all those things, but consistency is going to be the largest factor for that. So yeah, keep it up, man. Keep doing your thing. Definitely keep up the variation in the content, on foot shots, videos, Instagram TV, the nice clean product photos, the video slideshows. Keep all that up. Keep doing your thing, Dwayne. And we're here to help you on your ride, buddy, because it is a journey. It's a roller coaster. It's ups and downs. And it's cool to just be able to chat with people about things to consider. And yeah, take a look at this, for example. Like, how cool would this be? How cool would this be right now if Dwayne was sort of on the screen with me and I was able to talk with him, on camera, on FaceTime or something like that. Whereas right now, I can't interact with him, but I can sort of ask him, well, what's your thought process here? Why are you trying to do it this way? And why are you not doing this? Why are you doing this? And we could go back and forth, and that would be so valuable. So I think that's something that would be really cool for the future, to be able to set that up. So yeah, good stuff, Dwayne. Good stuff. Keep it up, my man. Let's see here. Best in terms of simplicity. Angelica Castillo says, what is the best shoes to customize? Please answer. I will answer you, Angelica. I think the best shoes to customize would be a pair of Air Force Ones or a pair of Jordan Ones. Those are just iconic silhouettes, and there is a limitless amount of things that you can do. Carson Fields here says, if you are just starting, do you suggest to find someone that you know can rep your business, or do you go for a client that you know is just going to wear your shoe out and about? If you're just starting, you're not necessarily, potentially, but you may not have clients if you're just starting out. So it could be a great idea to have, friends or family, someone you know, to go out because they know you personally. So, ideally, if they're going to want to support you, they're going to want to talk about you and your new project that you're working on. You know what I mean? So they'll gladly tell other people about the shoes. So just starting out, I think it'd be a great idea to have friends or family supporting you. So yeah, let's see here. Night Owl Custom says, I can't wait to start on the contest pair, Dylan. I've got something spicy cooking up. I am, man, am I excited to see what people come up with, because, there's just going to be a really, picking a Final Four for this one is not going to be easy. And I didn't get to, whereas with the Christmas and the Halloween contest last year, I created a pair for a YouTube video that, hey, sort of, here's what my submission might look like if I entered. We'll see how time works out and whatnot, but I think I would like to do a pair and make a video of if I were entering this contest, here's what I would cook up. So yeah. Yeah, it's good, man. There's gonna be some good ones. There's gonna be some good ones. Let's see here. Angel Padilla says, with some very kind words, says, I can see you definitely blow up, man. You're super talented and very helpful. I genuinely thought you already had about 1 million subscribers when I came across you for the first time. Thank you for those very kind words, Angel. Truly appreciate that. Hopefully we will one day. You know what I mean? I mean, it's hard to imagine ever getting to million subscribers. I mean, that's just a crazy number to even think about. And it's hard to even think about getting to 100,000 was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think in a few years, I think that we could get there. You know what I mean? I think that'd be really, really, really cool. So yeah, thank you for that, Angel. Let's see here. We'll go about another 10 minutes or so, guys. Let's see. Lil Squeak says, quick answer. What all do I need to start? You need paint, you need paint brushes, you need Liquid Kicks matte finisher, you need sandpaper, you need Scotch-Brite pads, you need cotton balls, and you need acetone. And some toothpicks. There you go. That's what I would say. Pedro says, can you do a video making a tutorial on how to make anime custom shoes with characters on it? We do have a pretty cool video on that. Let me see where it's at on the YouTube here. If we take a look, it is an old video. I would say it's probably 2 years old now. If I scroll back, let's take a look. See here. We just had another video hit 1 million views, which is crazy. Our Gucci Drip Air Force video hit another views. That's super cool. But let's take a look. It was on a pair of slides. Yep. Okay. If I switch over here, yeah. Right here, how to animate comic art. In the last month, we have made $1.23 on that video. So yeah, this is a cool one. We talk about how to do anime style cell shading and sort of how you would do some of that type stuff. And this is an underrated video. It came out, does it say the date specifically? If I click here, more info, edit. How old is this? Do I get a date anywhere? I don't think so. But yeah, this is probably 2 summers ago. So yeah, that's a good video. Definitely check that one out if you're interested in learning more about anime. Let's see here. Colin Custom says, hey, I remember when you first hit that 1 mil views on the Reviewing Your Customs. Absolutely crazy. I think at the time, we might have only had one other video over 100 or 200,000. So for that video to go off and get 1 million views is just mind-blowing. And hopefully that video brought you a lot of business. I'm trying to think of who were the 4 people on that one. Jar, you, G. Brazy Customs, and who was the other one? There's the Vans, the Air Forces, the Air Max, and I can't remember the 4th pair. But yeah, hopefully that brought you a lot of good stuff, because that's what those are about. That's what those are about, showing off your guys' stuff. I've thought about if I would ever maybe do Reviewing Your Customs and taking a look at some of my pairs and talking about little things maybe I missed or I could have done better on some old pairs, but I don't know. I definitely love that it's about showing off all the other talented people in this industry's work. But I think maybe that sort of video could sort of be cool just for showing little things that even I could have improved on years back and have gotten better and stuff. But yeah, very cool. Very cool. Angel here says, how old were you when you first started customizing shoes? I'm only 16 and I started this year. So far, all my projects have been hand painted. Looking to invest in an airbrush soon. First pair of shoes I painted was the fall of 2011, so I believe it was shortly before I turned 20. So yeah, I was 19 with the first one I did. Alexandra here says, Alexandra, so, forgive me. Alexandre, forgive me. Any tips to start some tutorial videos? I would like to do them in French. I'm really in my zone in front of a camera. Good for you, because not many people are. I'm not even 2.5 years into YouTube. It's still weird. Even right now, it's weird being in an empty basement and talking to a camera. But it's cool that all you guys are here to hang out with me. But yeah, it's something I'm still not comfortable with. So yeah, just turn it on and get going and start doing your things. And I think that it's a good idea to get multiple cameras if you can, even if that means multiple iPhones, if you have to borrow somebody's for filming. But it's always great to have multiple views, especially for tutorial sake. You potentially might want to consider filming the tutorial separately from doing, whether it be the voiceover or your A-roll, your talking shots. Let's say I'm doing a tutorial. Sometimes you'll see me sitting here talking to the camera. That could be my A-roll, whereas, the B-roll might be all of the video clips of the actual tutorial and whatnot. So, Dylan, it's Alexander in French. Thank you so much, Costa. Saving the day. Appreciate you. I need to brush up on my French. Let's see here. Just F07 joins us, says, good evening, Seuss. Any tips for painting with Angelus neon paint? Yeah, so if you're going to be painting with the neon paints, it's really important to build up your color, of course. So let's say you're doing like a neon yellow. It's really important that you have a solid base of like a really, really light yellow, like a pale yellow, to do the neon yellow on top of. If you're just working on, like, let's just say you're painting on white leather, it's going to be really hard to just paint like neon yellow on top and get it even. So definitely build up a base coat. And then if possible, I would like to say to airbrush it. I'm not sure if you airbrush or just hand paint, but it's definitely a little bit more ideal to airbrush it. It's always easier to get even coverage, in my opinion, with a airbrush. But yeah, building up your base color is always going to be the most important stuff. If you're doing a neon orange, you're going to want to start with a base coat of maybe 75% white, 25% orange, or something like that. Kong Custom says, laughing my ass off, Seuss. Yeah, Just Steph always calls me that. He's the first person ever to call me Seuss, and that might be one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Thankfully, nobody except my grade school gym teacher, Mr. Carthan. Shout out to Mr. Carthan. Wonder if he's still around. Just because he was pretty old. He's the only person ever called me Dill. And he had this really deep voice. And it was just very funny hearing a really older, deep voice gentleman, Dill. And thankfully, nobody else has ever stuck around with that. But yeah, never really had too much of a nickname. My friends call me Dylon a lot, so sometimes you'll hear me say dumb stuff with that. Like I did that on Instagram the other night. I put quick tips with Dylon as I went through some vinyl and stencil stuff. Make sure you're following us on Instagram if you aren't already, at DeJesus Custom Footwear. But we went through some stencil stuff. Let's see here. A couple questions here about hashtags and captions. I'm not sure. Do captions matter? I think that I've tested out a lot of different things over the years of sometimes having long captions of maybe where you try to tell the story of the shoe, and sometimes you get no response, and sometimes I've had incredibly short captions where maybe it's just a couple emojis, and that's where I'll have way more feedback and response. So it's really hard for me to say and what even I think matters. I think that, you know, you want to build your, you have to have, you want to attach a personality to your brand. And let's say you're not on YouTube and you're not on Instagram stories with video. People need to get to know you to really relate themselves to you. So maybe that has to be through your Instagram captions. Otherwise, you're sort of just another page. You know what I mean? So you as you grow a following and an audience, you really want to make sure that they feel they can connect with you. And maybe sometimes that's through the captions in which you're telling the story of the shoes or something like that. But, you know, maybe if you're somebody who's constantly on video or on Instagram stories, showing your face, talking, maybe people just sort of know you and they just sort of know your style is, you know, short captions, stuff like that. I really do not enjoy writing. Like, writing is not a form that I enjoy. I can talk all day. As you guys know, I can ramble. But I don't like translating my rambling into word form because it turns into rambling. Like, it'll turn it like, can somebody take this guy back to 4th grade and show him what a comma is and how to end a sentence? And it has been a long time since I have been in a English or grammar class. So I don't enjoy writing, you know what I mean? So you won't very often see me doing too much as far as captions and things like that. But unless you're out there in another way, people need to be able to connect with you, and it can't just be through pretty photos, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that, do captions matter? Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. Unless you find another way for people to connect with you. Like when I posted, funny enough, the other day I posted like a 7-slide thing on Instagram stories on doing lettering with vinyl. And then I posted it to Facebook because I thought it was some good tips that I wrote on the Instagram stories. And one of the comments was, this is so funny that I could hear your voice as I'm reading these captions, which is funny because people are so used to hearing me on these tutorials and things like that. So that's just good that, like, you know, I've sort of found a way to connect with people through talking and teaching and these tutorials and stuff like that. So okay, we will do one final question here. I think this is a good one. And we'll sort of end with this. So here we have a question from Funky Lines. It says, hey, bro, I just finished a custom, and my client is unhappy with the result. What should I do? Funky Lines, I'm going to ask you to let me know what you mean they're unhappy with. Are they unhappy with the design? Are they unhappy with sort of the execution? Did you send them a mock-up to start? Did you send them progress photos along the way? Give me a little bit more here, and I'll try to expand. But so Funky Lines, just fill me in a little bit more on what happened. And this is a good question to answer. Yeah, my client is unhappy with the result. Let's find out what happened next. Commercial break, as if we were on Maury waiting for the DNA results. Well, let's find out what happened with this client from Funky Lines. Gina here says, Gina, thanks for joining. Your eBay shoe photos were amazing. Thank you so much. I think I touched on it last week's stream, but Jason specifically, because I was still painting and doing other things, but Jason went so hard on the photography for the photos, and I knew it was a tight deadline. And my goal, it's absolutely my goal. But I wanted to crush every other customizer's photos. I knew everybody was on a tight timeline. I believe I have the best team out there with Jason, and I just wanted our stuff to look the best, plain and simple. You know what I mean? I wanted us to stand out from everybody else through the photography and have that premium look that you'll always hear me preach, and I think that we achieved that. And it was not easy, and we went through a lot of iterations on different things, like, hey, how does this work for these? Specifically on those Rave Air Forces, man, we had to watch a ton of tutorials on how to get the neon lights glowing in the background and things like that. We had to make all these Home Depot runs to get so many different things, but with the end result, we're super pleased. But man, yeah, Jason and I really went through it to get that stuff. So let's see here. Yeah, big shout out to the DCF team, man. It's never just me. It's never just me, guys. I just happen to be the guy that you always hear rambling. So let's see here. Funky Lines follows up with, they expected the waves on the shoe to be the main part, and they took it as the palm trees were the biggest part, if you know what I mean. They thought that as they came out, the palm trees were the most prominent. That is the better way of putting it. Okay, interesting. Okay. Okay, so they wanted the waves to be a little bit more prominent, but your palm trees came out a little bit stronger. I would love if you could send me a photo, if you could potentially send me a DM with them. That'd be really cool. I only have a couple minutes here, but I would like to see those, and maybe we could see what happened. But Funky Lines, let me know also, did you send them? I don't think you followed up with. Did you send them a mock-up? Were you sending them progress photos along the way? Yes, the waves on the shoe. Yeah. Funky Lines, let me know. My chat is, I think, like 20 to 30 seconds delayed from what I'm saying right now, so I have to wait a bit and see. But let me know if there's any way we could see a photo. Yeah, okay, so, but yeah, let's just say I can't, and let's just talk about it. Sending you a DM shortly. So what do you do from here when you have an unhappy client and you've already finished the shoe? Well, I guess it also depends on, you know, how was, I didn't send them a progress photo, still new to the customized business. Okay, I'm not saying you always have to. Personally, I hate sending progress photos, so I totally get it. But from here, it depends if, did they pay up front? Did they pay half up front and you're waiting for the other half of the payment, but they're not going to send it unless they're happy with the product? You know what I mean? How did I need to just know a little bit more about how the deal was structured? If you know, they gave you sort of creative freedom a little bit, or if you agreed to a mock-up, then I could know a little bit more. It's hard for me to say right now what the situation is without knowing just a little bit more about what happened or what you should do, because let's say there was a mock-up, okay? And let's say the end result didn't look like the mock-up. Well, then, okay, then we can objectively say, as the artist, you didn't necessarily nail the mock-up. Okay, so it says sent you a DM. Let me see if I can take a look here. What's your Instagram name that it came from? Let's see if I can get that pulled up here, guys. La da da da. La da da da. Nope. One across. Let me see. This is Funky Lines. Okay, cool. All right. Switch over. Let's see this photo. It's one of the disappearing ones, so we'll screenshot it if we need to. Okay. Cool. All right. So, let me see here. Get back to they expected the waves on the shoe to be the main part, and they took it as the palm trees for the biggest part. They thought as they came out, the palm trees were the most prominent. Well, I agree that the palm trees are the most prominent part here. I do. Yeah. I do agree that the palm trees are the most prominent part here. And if the idea that they wanted or the theme, whatnot, was a little bit more of a wave theme, I do think that the palm trees are a little bit stronger than the waves here. Yeah, so waves supposed to be on the side. Okay, so I can't necessarily see the side here to see, you know, the waves splashing on the side or something like that. Yeah, certainly an option is to, it's canvas, so it kind of stinks. You, depending on how you painted these, I'm not sure. You don't necessarily want to you kind of can, kind of can't acetone this paint off, depending on how you painted it. Okay, Funky Lines here says, I think the problem was that I didn't fully understand what they wanted. There was some confusion. Okay. So, hey, maybe the lesson to learn here is this might be a good occasion where a mock-up that you guys agree upon is the best, is a really good thing. And whether that be something that you create on Photoshop or a sketching app like a Procreate on the iPad, this is where it might really come in handy, to where you guys have agreed upon mock-up. Now you know exactly what they want because they say, hey, that mock-up looks awesome. Or let's say you did this as a mock-up originally and you sent this to them before you painted their shoes, anything like that, and they would tell you in mock-up form before you even spent any of your time painting, hey, I think the palm trees are a little bit too prominent here. Do you think that you could make the waves a little bit bigger or something like that? Or can we switch it up? I want the palm trees maybe on the side, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think maybe the big takeaway here should be to send mock-ups to clients, especially because you're saying I didn't fully understand what they wanted. That's what I would say here. Mock-ups can be a good thing for times like this. But what else? From here, how can you solve this? You can say, okay, well, I can, potentially paint over it, you know what I mean? Or try to acetone some of the paint off and then repaint the design and do something new. That's what I might consider to do here. You don't want to have to go and buy a new shoe because, obviously that's going to cut into your profit margins a lot, but sometimes that can happen to where the shoe's not really savable and you don't necessarily, it depends on, like we said about payment, whatnot. Also, if we're talking about, did they pay you everything up front or are you waiting for half the payment at the end, whatever the case may be. But yeah, getting an agreed upon mock-up could be really vital, and that can save you from confusion down the line. And just trying to do your best to try to make sure that we can have a happy client, because you don't ever want to have leave somebody having a bad experience with you, you know what I mean? Because those aren't people that are going to want to reorder. Those aren't people that are going to want to spread the word for you. So you want to try to make sure that everybody is, you want to make sure that every one of your clients is happy. And Mel here, the Right Magic, follows up with, you could offer to redo them or give them a discount. Absolutely. You could maybe say, well, here's the design I came up with, and maybe we can give a little bit of a discount for this palm tree design, potentially, or offer to redo them for your own clarity and your own sake. Like, here, I want to make sure that you're really happy, and I want to give you exactly what you want and what you ordered. So I'm either going to redo them or I'm going to buy a new pair and do it again or something like that. Funky Lines here says, okay, thanks for the advice. Still learning. Just started customizing 1 month ago. Awesome. Hey, Funky Lines, I'm glad that we can be not only myself, but other people here in the chat chiming in and helping out. Awesome. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for doing that. Really cool. The Toothpick Gang community is awesome. You can come here and get some good advice. Another great place, if you guys aren't already, make sure you come and join us over at the Discord. People chatting custom sneakers all day, every day, helping each other out. Really cool. And yeah, so guys, that is going to do it for me on this episode of DCF Live. We will be back at you guys. Hopefully, you should be able to do another stream next week. But next week's video will be the official announcement on our next contest. You guys have about 5.5 weeks to enter. Gonna be a good one. Really excited for that. And we got some cleat videos coming out for you guys soon because we're in the midst of NFL season, so we got some cool stuff on that. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Truly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on this episode of DCF Live. Hope everybody has a great, safe, happy, healthy weekend. Stay safe, everybody, and take care. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace!